to the Fantasy Thinker. I'm Jared, and today we are going to be doing a look through of my notes on the Darkness That Comes Before, the Prince of Nothing, Book One. This is my third vlog of this book, and I am covering part two, the Emperor. And it's got this, the cool lettering there, and the big announcement. Part two, the Emperor. Part one was the Sorcerer, and we discovered, a lot about that particular character. And in this part two, I think a little bit of time passes. I think it was a couple of months since part one, and the main focus of this part is the Emperor, as the title suggests, and it's not just the Emperor, but it's the Emperor and his immediate entourage, family, and advisors and machinations. um, but also, we get into another character from the Sklivendi, I think they're called. Um, these wild barbarians, tribes outside of the empire who the Nansur, I think it's the Nansur, that this guy's the emperor of, and who they've always had trouble with, have never really defeated. And so this part two introduces us to that whole situation, and it also tells us how Maithanet's holy war is having an effect on other places and how it intertwines with the alliances made amongst all these different places, kingdoms, tribes, what have you, sects, and guilds, organizations. Um, Places like the Scarlet Spires, who are a group of mages, apparently. So it's all these different factions here come into play, and we see the bigger political, picture with this part to the Emperor, as well as getting introduced to some highly unlikable but interesting personalities. So right off the bat, chapter five, we go. I like how the chapters are titled with where they're taking place. So they're taking place. This one's taking place in Momen, or if that's how it's said, and it has a nice little epigraphs in the beginning here. And I like this one because there was talk of how the men of the Tusk never understood was that the Nansur and the Kianin were old enemies, two civilized people that find themselves at war for centuries, blah blah blah. Right? So, and it's these ancestral foes that have a mutual respect for each other, a common history, a sort of triumph in stalemate. And the men of the Tusk were interlopers, an impertinent flood that threatened to wash away the observed channels of a far older enmity. And that just, that reminds me of so many conditions in the real world here, where it kind of speaks to colonial powers coming in and not understanding the people involved and thinking they're just gonna come in and set down some laws, make things straight, and there'll be no more fighting between the people. But in this case, it's a little different than that. The In this case, it's just one people not understanding two other people. So, excuse me there. All right, the and so it kind of reminds me of like India, Britain, and India. It kind of reminds me of the Soviet Union in Yugoslavia, and so, or the Yugoslavia in the government that ruled those different peoples that were there, and they just don't understand that how those peoples relate to each other, and so It disturbs, it corrodes the uh, Herzegovians or whatever they're called. Yeah, and you know what I mean. Bosnians, yes, even Macedonians. So interesting. Wow, I'm spending way too much time on one little quote, and I got all these tabs uh, going here. So we're introduced to first the emperor. What's his name? Xerius or Xerius, however you want to say that. And boy, this guy's a piece of work, huh? So yeah, we're told that it's been a months have passed since the declaration of the Holy War, and this guy, this emperor, wants to, of course, use this for his own advantage, like any good emperor would, right? Um, and and he comes across as kind of a unlucky buffoon. He kind of like a bird shits on him, and he looks at it as defiling, as it's risking everything. He has archers like starts shooting down all the birds, um, and the it kind of reminded me of there's a Disney movie called The Emperor's New Groove, and whenever somebody gets in the Emperor's way in the Disney movie, he goes, "You ruined my groove," and that's all I could think about with this guy. People were just ruining his groove, and I don't know. I was kind of laughing at it, even though it's actually not funny because he's quite a jerk. But then of course he tries to turn it around. His advisors try to turn it around to that's saying that the gods have touched him. So that's what politicians do. So then we move on to let's see here. There's a mention here of let's see, cutting out the three hearts of God, Sumna, the thousand temples, and the tusk. Um, and he's talking about this is what the Kianan heathens want to do to them. So that's their enmity, their rivals in this part of the world. According to this map, they to the south of them, south, just across the Myanmar Sea. Yeah. All right, and so you're getting more and more fill in about the different nations, and they sent an emissary from the Phantom, whoever they are, and this guy's a Sischarum. I'm not exactly sure what that means. I know it's some sort of magic wielder. But it doesn't look like through the negotiations that this guy gets what he wants, really. And he's got some like snake eyes. Yeah. Let's see here. And so the emperor is trying to set up all these different places to sign these things called what are they called? I don't know, some sort of affidavit that will grant him lands that are conquered as a result of the Holy War, because um, I'm sure he has his reasons, and the this is where Xerius finds out that the the prophet Mathanet has sealed a pact with the Scarlet Spires, which is very strange because these Scarlet Magi, these magic users, um, no one would ever have thought that they would join a holy war, because it's kind of because this Mathanet is kind of he's like for the people, so to speak. He doesn't traffic in magic. He wants to put them all to burn them or whatever, like witches or whatever. So this his advisor think the guy's just lying, and but they get through the negotiations. I don't think they really got very far, and they they just threaten each other. So moving on to chapter 6, we have an introduction to a new character called Nair Urs Sciotha, and he's part of the Sklevendi, yeah. And those are the barbarians outside of the empire there. And we get his point of view. He has this reputation of of being a fierce warrior, but also people whisper behind his back, and he thinks he doesn't know what exactly that's about. He he finds out that they think he sleeps with other men, but that's never proven, and I guess that's a taboo in their society. So he, but at first he thinks that they're just whispering because they see how powerful he is, and how he's willing to how many men he's slaughtered, and his past, and like they actually say murder. They actually say, I've murdered many men. That's a good thing. And this society is really it really is barbaric, I guess. It's a society that considers murder a good thing is not a society that, of course, we want to be a part of these days. Um, you know, who knows what how societies worked, from a historical point of view. I'm sure there were um, tribal societies who you know went in for that kind of a measure of a man's worth was how many people they murdered. So, right at the bat, I don't really like this guy. He seems to have a certain point of view that the rest of his tribesmen lack, and he's telling them that that we need a war of patience, but they don't listen to him. And when the battle happens, when this guy goes in, he because he's warning them about this guy Confess. I think it's Confess. Um, that he's a supposed to be a really brilliant general, and he's warning his tribesmen about this, and they don't listen to him. But then when he goes into battle, he looks around, and it looks like he kind of may have been set up to die. And so, were they listening to him, or were they leading him on? Were they not listening to him, or were they actually did they actually know what he was talking about, and they were just leading him into death? Is that what they wanted? Uh, yeah, it was hard to tell, I think, but he um, he eventually goes in. He whispers a memorial to the dead god, whoever that is, another god, and he uh, he ends up he ends up like they end up losing. Uh, this General Confer, brings in some magi, unleashes them at just the right time to wipe out a lot of tribesmen, send them fleeing, and this guy, Nair, wakes up under a pile of dead bodies. He fools the people who are looking for, you know, what when a victor in this very medieval like setting, when a victor wins a battle, they go onto the field and they stab anybody who might still be alive amongst the enemy, um, when they're not taking hostages or anything like that. So he fools them into thinking he's already dead, and then they carry on, and um, he hears some conversation between Confess and his officers and what have you. And this guy Confess is saying that war is intellect. Interesting. It's that's easy to say when you're the winner, the clear winner. But anyways, so finally, this guy Nair gets away. When they finally leave, he gets away, and he's not in a good position. Moving on to chapter 7, we go back to Momin, and and that chapter 6 took place on the Gian, G- Gianati steps. Yeah, where the battle was. So back to Momin. Back to Emperor Ikarai Zarius, and back to Confus, who's returning from the war. Um, and he, he's returning victorious. He's feeling pretty good about himself, right? So now we're getting a look at this guy. He's the nephew of the emperor. So he's also a rival of the emperor. uh, you know, you know how those things go. Family politics are also just as um, you know harsh and viral and you know uh, complicated as empire politics. So, all right. Let's see. The feeling he had was when he won was like rapture, religious ecstasy. It had been, he later realized, a revelation, a moment of divine insight into the immeasurable might of his hand. But who would have thought that revelations, like meat, could be poisoned by the passage of days? Wow, you got to keep revelations fresh in the freezer. Anyway, so that's kind of funny. Interesting viewpoint, because he's a hero, but of course he's got to come back. He's got to deal with his uncle. He's got to deal with the emperor. He's got to deal with his grandmother, who's the emperor's mother, and this guy took a king of tribes captive. There is so much this guy did, and so he even had thoughts in his own head. It's like, maybe I can just kill my uncle right now. I got all my warriors behind me. Maybe I can just kill him now and just take the throne. But then he's smart enough to hold back. When he plays the game with his uncle, he realizes that his uncle is a little smarter than he may seem on the outside, uh, and so he kisses the ring, basically. Doesn't do all that stuff, and because his uncle shows him a few things that, I know a few things you don't know. Basically, that type of situation. All right, so as we move on, we get to the autumn. This past summer now, a couple months more go by. There's all these negotiations going on. There's stories and let's see here. Yeah, there's also stories about what Mathanet's doing that come to, that filter in through to the emperors, to the empire, um, from outside, and what they're doing and how they're dealing with this whole, um, this the something happened where their Mathanet got way too many followers than expected, and they were just this ragtag army of beggars and women and children, and they called them the vulgar, and thus began the vulgar holy war, because this mob, these thousands upon thousands of people, uh, could not be controlled, ultimately, because they had no discipline, they had no provisions, they had no food to give them. There was too many of them, and so they ended up just marching off and becoming this ragtag army that set out to conquer things. Well, eventually that doesn't ever work, and so the vulgar holy war kind of got put down, put it aside, defeated, but it wasn't the main thrust of the holy war. It wasn't Mathanet's main goal. Um, so then Confas is speaking with, um, the emperor's right hand man, and these two are, usually rivals, but they sometimes, come together, which goes with that theme of, um, the a foreign body coming in between two rivals. But anyways, the um, the prime council, yeah, that's the prime council. That's the guy's name. What's his name? What is his actual name? Skios, something like that. So, uh, and this guy's like, Confas is wondering if this guy is trying to incite him to sedition, because this guy is always trying to have the emperor back off, make sure the emperor doesn't blow up, make sure the emperor doesn't make any faux pas, any mistakes, any, you know stupid diplomatic decisions, or hot-headed immediate things he'll regret later. And he's also doing the same for Confess, but he's Confess thinks he might be trying to pit them against each other. And this guy, he's like, no, I'm just against this holy war thing that your uncle's trying to get involved in, and I'm worried. And he's like, why? And he's like, I'm worried about my soul. And he's like, what? You mean this guy, this prophet, has ensnared you as well? He's like, no, 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 I don't care anything about that. You're young, you wouldn't understand my motives. The young can never see life for what it is, a knife edge as thin as the breaths that measure it. Ooh, that's ooh, that's good. I like that. I like that a lot. Yeah, pretty cool stuff. So it all comes down to, they're trying to get everybody that comes in here, all the different factions. They're trying to get them to sign this thing, this paper that says, that the empire will end up with land. It's always about land, right? And they're playing the game. They're playing this game to try to. But the main thing that they can't figure out is what game is Mathanet playing, and so that is, um, that is the question, really, and that's the question that the chapter, the part, this section ends with too, is what is the game he's playing? Who is he? Um, and you know, Confess and his uncle, they're playing this chess game, and they look down at their chessboard of all the nations on the map, and they consider themselves gods. Of course, we all know how things like that end, so I don't expect a very good future for either one of those guys. Yeah, we'll see. Um, there was one section where Nair came back to his tent, found people who betrayed him, and proceeded to kill them. So I think he might be retaking over his tribe somehow, somewhere. We'll see how that goes as well. He's a murder hobo, as far as I'm concerned. But so that was part two, the Emperor. Very interesting. I'm really enjoying it. Really enjoying this. Next up is part three, the Harlot. I wonder if it's the same character from part one, where we met the sorcerer's friend and prostitute in that section. I'm wondering if that's what part three is, who part three is about, or is it a new character? We'll see. We'll see. All right, running out of time here, so that was a lot to cover. That was a pretty big section. All right, until next time, be good to each other, and thank you for watching. And let me know in the bottom if I missed anything, what I got wrong, all that stuff. And thank you for watching.